Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Raw Take. I'm your host, Rob Reed, and all shaved. This is your review for Fight for the Fallen 2021 edition of AEW Dynamite. This episode was so good. So good. Get into it. It started with one of the best entrances I've ever seen in all of wrestling. We start with the 10-man elimination tag match between Hangman and the Dark Order, and they're taking on the Elite. The Dark Order consists of Hangman, John Silver, Alex Reynolds, Evil Uno, and Stu Grayson. They play this like video package right at the beginning of the show, talking about what it means to be a real cowboy, and they have these really cool backlit shots of each member of the Dark Order, almost look kind of like they're standing in like a barn or something from the way it looks behind them. But it shows them all, and then on stage it shows them each, like a light comes up on each member of the Dark Order, and then right in the middle shows Hangman Page, and he's wearing purple. His backlight is purple. His entrance video is purple. And I actually got a little choked up seeing Hangman Page actually in the Dark Order color scheme. I thought it was an awesome touch. I thought it was really cool to finally see him, embrace being part of the Dark Order. This was cool. Then we have the entrance for the Elite, and they go with a Space Jam themed theme for their entrance. They even play the old entrance theme for the Chicago Bulls, and they introduced each member. They give them, I can't remember all of them, but they give them each member a stupid basketball nickname. I know they called one of the Young Bucks, I think it was Nick. They called Nick Trick Shot Jackson. I thought that was funny. That whole entrance was very funny. The match was so good. This match was so well booked. Alex Reynolds was the first eliminated. He was caught with a roll up and a handful of tights. He's gone. But right after this, he's eliminated by Carl Anderson. But right after this, like the remaining members of the group of the Dark Order surround him, each hit him with big moves. Then Stu Grayson and Evil Uno hit the fatality, get him out of there. Then we move on. We see Gallows and Grayson are fighting, and okay, so one thing I will have a complaint about, and it is something that does need to be addressed in AEW. Stu Grayson goes for a dive. We see a lot of dives. He goes for an acai moonsault. There are 5 members of the Dark Order, or of the Elite, standing outside. He does this moonsault, and not one guy catches him. Like, they do the fall, but nobody actually, does the catch when he comes down, and he lands hard, really hard, and I think that's a little unacceptable. These guys know what they're doing. I think it's very unacceptable that you have 5 guys on the outside and nobody catches Stu Grayson. He could have been seriously hurt on this. I was not happy seeing that. But beyond that, this was a really good match. But that's something they need to get fixed. Is if you're going to do dives all the time, people got to be catching, because that's not a good look. But they get Grayson and Gallows and eventually get counted out together, so they're both eliminated at the same time. Then Omega gets Grayson out, gets Stu Grayson, or gets Evil Uno out, hits a bunch of V-triggers, hits the one-wing angel. Evil Uno's out there. So now we're down to the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and John Silver and Hangman. Eventually, numbers get too much, and the Young Bucks get John Silver out with the BTE trigger. This leaves Hangman Page alone with the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. And, normally, a lot of times we see in WWE when, we've seen it famously with John Cena, when he's down like 2 or 3 to 1, all of a sudden he comes back and wins. This isn't the case. He does come back. He hits a double buckshot lariat onto the Young Bucks, and he pins Matt, gets him out. But Nick and Kenny are still there. Omega goes for the belt. He goes for a belt shot with the tag team titles. Misses with it. Then the ref sees it. Grabs the belt out of his hand. Nick starts fighting Hangman. He fights Nick off. Turns around, gets hit with the AEW title by Kenny. That gets a 2 count. Hangman hits a Deadeye. That gets a 2 count. Finally, the belt shot, and then Kenny hits 2 V-triggers, hits a one-winged angel, and that's it. Hangman loses. I think this is really good. I think that now the rule is supposed to be Hangman is no longer number 1, but I think that's going to be like in a couple weeks. I think they're going to go ahead and do Kenny versus Christian Cage in a couple weeks, and I think we're still going to get Hangman and Kenny Omega at All Out. I don't think they're. Initially, I was thinking maybe they're going to stretch this out to Full Gear, but I don't think so. I think they're still going to put this match at All Out. I think somehow Hangman still gets there at All Out, because that's got to be the moment, the time to pull the trigger for me. I think All Out's got to be the show, because that's literally 2 years to the day, basically, that he lost on his first shot at the title. So I think this is going to be his. I think All Out's going to be his title win. But after this, we see a package. They say talking about the Forbidden Door being open. And they go to a video of Hiroshi Tanahashi. Of all people, the ace of New Japan. Tanahashi says he's interested in the match between Hikuleo and Lance Archer. He says the U.S. title looks really good, and he would like a shot at it. And he challenges the winner, whoever wins the title match tonight. He wants a shot at him. So that's pretty big news right there. We then get a Ricky Starks comes out to celebrate his the FTW title win. All the members of Team Taz are there except for Will Hobbs. Apparently he was out for something. They bring out this brass band. It was obvious plants. They weren't actual band. But they have these guys come out, supposed to be a New Orleans brass band. I'll get this out of the way right now. Jim Ross had a rough night, really rough night, and I love Jim Ross, but I think it's time for him to step down being a full-time announcer. Because I loved his interview stuff he's done here and there. Those have been really good, like his sit-down he did with Darby Allin and Ethan Page, I thought was really good. And I think that's where his bread and butter is right now. And because it's been 2.5 years now, and he has not gotten to the point where he can, and I don't think he cares. I don't think he cares about learning about the young wrestlers. It's obvious he doesn't like the high-flying stuff. We'll get to something he didn't like later. And I understand there's some people that don't like it. There's something he doesn't like later on. But when you're basically vocally burying some of the things on the product, on commentary, it's really bad. It looks really bad. But here, he doesn't understand. He doesn't know what a New Orleans brass band is, so he's confused about it. Ricky Starks absolutely goes in on Brian Cage. He said, there's a lot of things I could say I was offended by Brian Cage. He said, it could be that, they put me with him to try to rub a little bit of charisma, and that didn't work. A lot of the stuff Ricky Starks said is actually kind of true. Brian Cage is not the most exciting talker in the world. He's a great wrestler, but he's not the most charismatic guy. All this, and he says, the thing that I was upset about is you never came to talk. You never even checked up on me when I had a broken neck. So it was good to get you out of Team Taz and take the title. This then brings out Brian Cage. Cage takes a big bass drum, and slams it over one of the band's head, and he grabs a trombone. Now this, I will give Jim Ross credit. This is funny, and I guarantee somebody pitched this line. He breaks a trombone over his knee, and Jim Ross says there's no place for a trombone in professional wrestling. And I'm very sure that was done said by filtered in by like Kenny Omega or maybe the Young Bucks to pop Austin Creed at home. I know they're pretty good friends, so I have a feeling that was done specifically to pop Xavier Woods. After this, that Ricky Starks runs off, and that's it. After this, we get After this, we get FTR. They take on Santana and Ortiz. This was unfortunate. Apparently, at some point in the match, Cash Wheeler hit the post, hit the corner, and his arm got caught on the turnbuckle, on the bolt on the turnbuckle, and just cut open his arm really bad. And they had to rush the ending. So just as the match was starting to get into like second gear, he got injured and they had to rush the ending. And Dax hit a brainbuster for the win. I mean, the brainbuster looked good, but after like almost a month of build-up for just this match, it's unfortunate they had to cut the match short. I think both teams deserve a much better, longer match, and I'm sure we'll get it down the road. And it was just upsetting to see that match get cut short. After that, I am looking at a recap, trying to remind myself of everything. So I might be jumbled around, but I apologize. But everything that I talk about is everything that happened. We have our New Japan. Oh, no, we do have something right before this. Tony Schiavone comes out. He says, all week we've heard that there's a big announcement this week. And I have it from Tony Khan himself that, August 13th is Friday, August 13th is the very first episode of AEW Rampage. The week after that will be a special presentation of Rampage called The First Dance, and it will be at the United Center in Chicago, Illinois. And immediately the crowd erupts in CM Punk chants. This leads to a backstage interview. Alex Marvez is interviewing Darby Allin. He said, we just heard that we're going to be in Chicago for the second episode of Rampage. And he said, AEW is the place where everyone has to prove themselves. And even if you say that you are the best in the world, and I am all for Darby Allin versus CM Punk. That's going to be, that is CM Punk's debut. And that is straight up to stick it to Vince McMahon. 100%. You don't book the United Center right after SmackDown, on the go-home episode of SmackDown before SummerSlam for no reason. That's CM Punk's debut. For sure. 100%. Also, I think they're doing that because, there's a lot of COVID stuff coming back up. There's a more contagious strain. And I think just in case, I don't know what that was, just in case lockdown happens again, I think that they're covering their bases and they're getting the CM Punk return in front of fans before, we didn't, remember, we didn't get, we don't want a thing with, like Brody Lee happening again, where just as he's getting ready to debut the week of, they go into lockdown, and his entire run was in front of no fans. So I think they want to make sure CM Punk, gets that big, giant reaction in front of, because United Center is like a 23,000 seat venue. They'll probably cut that down to still 20,000. So we'll see how fast that sells out. If it sells out, I think it can. CM Punk can absolutely sell out the United Center for sure. If that's so, that's going to be their largest audience. They're immediately going to they might immediately outdo the Arthur Ashe show before that show even comes up. So this is a lot of big news for a 1 hour show. Rampage is a 1 hour show. So for them to book the United Center for a 1 hour show, they have to have something big planned. So that's got to be the debut of CM Punk. There's no way they don't have CM Punk there. That would be a near riot if they did all this and then CM Punk didn't show up. So for sure, that's CM Punk's debut. But after this, we have the New Japan United States Championship match between Hikuleo and Lance Archer. This is just a big dude, beefy big dude, take two action figures, smash them together match. This is really cool stuff. Lance Archer, at 44 years old, I don't know how he can do, he does the Undertaker's old school, but he does a moonsault out of it. I don't know how a nearly 7-foot dude, and Hikuleo was taller than him. They're giant dudes. I don't know how a dude his size, at his age, can do a moonsault like it's nothing. It's insane. But eventually, Lance Archer hits the blackout. He gets a win. And that's also impressive, hitting a blackout on that big of a dude. That's impressive, too. So he wins. Later on Twitter, it is announced that Lance Archer will face Hiroshi Tanahashi at the Los Angeles show Resurgence. So that's big. Later in the show, I'll go ahead and mention this now. Later in the show, we get a backstage segment with Jon Moxley. So, I was watching the Olympics and I asked myself, he said, how is it that all these athletes from different countries could get into Japan, but I've been trying to get into Japan for a year and a half. Tanahashi's been ducking me for a year, and I can't get in. But the second that I lose the U.S. title, now Tanahashi's ready to come to the United States, and he'll face Lance Archer for the belt. And he said, "You're dead to me." He said, "I'm going to get my guys to whip up some contracts and see what I can come up with in New Japan." So I am hoping this is leading to Moxley versus Tanahashi at All Out. That is my hope, because I'd love to see Tanahashi on an AEW show. I'd love it. I think that's where they're going. Uh, I'll take Minoru Suzuki if we can get him, but I think we're going with. I think we're going to get Tanahashi versus John Moxley all out, and I'm here for it. Okay, so after this. We get a really good vignette for Miro. He says, "I've faced all these open challenges. I've gone through them all." He said, "Next week, I'll be facing Lee Johnson." He said, "You're a good wrestler. You're a good kid." He said, "But nobody's gonna come between me." What was that? I'm trying to remember the line. My reckoning or something like that. It was a really good line, but his really, really, really good line was, "Only two things motivate me in life: a vengeful God and a double-jointed wife." I loved it. I love Miro so much. I love him on AEW so much. It's painful to think that WWE did not see anything in Rusev. I don't get it. He is so good. Like he's a guy who can be funny, charming, and absolutely terrifying at the same time, and I don't know how. He's so good. So, I think that's everything else. Oh no, we have one more thing. We have two things. Britt Baker is in the back. She shows her broken wrist. She suffered a broken wrist during her match with Nyla Rose last week. She said, "I know, hurt again." And Reba can't seem to help me that much. She can only do so much. It looks like I'm going to need some more help. So it looks like she's going to get another person. And I'm thinking it may either be Ruby Soho / Ruby Riott or the Iconics. That would be my other choice to be her extra backup. Either one I think would be good. I think I am pretty sure right now if they want to get Ruby Soho, I'm pretty sure now that CM Punk is about 99.99999% sure locked in for AEW. I'm sure that he can get a hold of Rancid really quickly and have AEW have the rights to the song Ruby Soho. And I think we might get that. We then have Julia Hart takes on Thunder Rosa, and Thunder Rosa is getting Road Warriors level pops right now. So much that Sean Ross Sapp has coined the term the Thunder Rosa pop, because it's her pop now. Because no matter where she goes, she gets gigantic reactions. I watched Dark a couple weeks ago, and she got one of the biggest pops I heard from Dynamite to any of the side AEW shows. One of the biggest pops in that company. Huge reaction. It's obvious that her and Britt Baker are the two people to put that division around. Because those are the people you're getting the biggest reactions from. In the whole company, let alone of the women. Like, they're getting the best reactions. So after this, we go into the main event. In 2021, in the main event on national television, we get Chris Jericho versus Nick fucking Gage. And oh my God, he got to be Nick Gage. It started out kind of slow. Justin Roberts even did Nick Gage's whole entrance, and the intro they give him. They obviously they didn't have the money for whom the bell tolls, but they have like kind of a mock-up version of it for AEW. I thought it sounded pretty good. Justin Roberts did the whole spiel that they do on GCW. I wouldn't say this match was not even nearly as violent as the one he had with Cardona during the week on the weekend. Just put that out there. Nick Gage has within like 5 days had matches with Matt Cardona and Chris Jericho. I don't think if you would have told me in like 2016 that Zack Ryder and Chris Jericho were going to have matches in the same week as with Nick Gage, I would have said you were freaking nuts. But here we are on national television. It started out kind of slow. They actually wrestled for a good probably 6 minutes. Like regular wrestling match. And, Nick Gage isn't like the most technical guy, but he was solid. He was solid in the ring. He didn't like screw anything up. I mean, maybe Jericho was like carrying him. If he did, Jericho is better than anybody can claim. Because he made Nick Gage look really fucking good. Then the light tubes come out. And it looks like we're going to get it there. But Jericho brings out his baseball bat. He hits Gage first. So we're like, okay, they're just teasing it. They're not going to get it. Oh no. About 7 minutes in. Okay, this is one of the best parts. Nick Gage brings out a pizza cutter. That's his bread and butter. That's his gimmick. Takes out a pizza cutter and starts running it across Jericho's forehead. Immediately they go to a commercial break. Right after this. And the first commercial that comes up after Nick Gage takes a pizza cutter to Chris Jericho's forehead is a Domino's pizza commercial. It is the best thing I've ever seen in professional wrestling. I laughed so hard at that. That was absolutely perfect. There's no way they didn't do it on purpose either. They had to know what they were doing. They had to know what they were doing going into that commercial break to do a pizza cutter spot right before a Domino's pizza ad. That was perfect. 100% perfect. I get it. Okay, now I mentioned this earlier. I get it that not everybody is a fan of like hardcore deathmatch wrestling. This was not deathmatch. Just to point this out there. This was not deathmatch wrestling. Even as brutal as this match gets, this was just hardcore. This was just a hardcore match turned up a little bit. This was not a full-on Nick Gage match. This wasn't what happened. This wasn't the match he had with Cardona. It was violent. It was a good, really violent hardcore match. But it was not the most violent thing we've seen. And Jim Ross is literally bitching on commentary. Like complaining about watching this match. One, this was meant to be a brutal test for Chris Jericho. You don't have Nick Gage come on your show and not have at least a brutal looking match, because it would be against your entire storyline of these labors of Jericho if he doesn't. And Chris Jericho takes a lot in this match. Oh, we get the light tubes. Right after the break, Gage is like putting this like pane of glass on top of like a bridge over two chairs. He goes to do something off the top rope. Jericho reverses it. He gets him to the top rope, does a Hurricane Rana. Gage goes through the glass. Right after this, after like a couple minutes, Gage hits a pile driver onto the glass, gets a 2. Then the light tubes come out. Nick Gage just throwing light tubes over the back, over Jericho's head. Like, it is a brutal sight to watch. He takes a broken piece of the light tube and starts jamming it into the head of Jericho. Like, you remember after Blood and Guts, we got the jokes. Shotzi got jokes. Shotzi Blackheart got jokes, y'all. She ain't pulling no fucking shit like that this time. She ain't gonna make any jokes about Chris Jericho this week. That's not happening. Jericho took a lot in this match. He did way more than he ever needed to. I give every bit of credit to Chris Jericho in this match, just like I did Matt Cardona over the weekend. These are two guys who they have done enough in wrestling. Neither guy had to do that kind of match. Especially Jericho in his 50s and the career he's had. He didn't have to do a Nick Gage match. He didn't have to do it. But he's the one that signed off on it. And he took everything. But eventually Nick Gage, he brings out like these two like a big bundle of light tubes. Goes to hit Jericho with it. Jericho spits like green mist in Gage's eyes. Hits him with the glass tubes. And then hits the Judas effect. And there's your finish. This is I will fully admit I was an ECW fan. I love hardcore wrestling. As long as you're not doing like full on chair shot to the head, I think you're good. I know it looks brutal, and it can be brutal. The light tubes can be brutal. But cuts can heal. I think it's more the chair shots, brain damage that is the major issue to worry about. And, accidentally getting cut in the throat like David Arquette. And even Nick Gage has said that it was 100% an accident, and he was worried as hell. He was extremely concerned for David Arquette after that. But right after this match, first, MJF said he's not going to pay Gage because he didn't get the job done. which I believe this will end up playing a factor later on in the story. But Gage says, Chris, as you're lying there on the floor, as uncomfortable as you can be, which is a direct line from CM Punk's pipe bomb promo. He said, I want to bring up a video. And he brings up a video from 2019 where they had a promo off. And Jericho mentions Juventud Guerrera. And MJF says, who's that? And Jericho says, Google it. And then they cut back to live. He says, well, Chris, I did Google him. And I found out he was one of your biggest rivals. So you have a match where the stipulation is you have to hit a move off the top rope to win the match. And your opponent is Juventud Guerrera. And just so I know there's been some jokes. Can Juvi still go? Is he a druggie? I don't know about the druggie part, but he has wrestled recently, and he can still go for his age. Like Juventud Guerrera can still go at his age. So this should be really good. Now, what everybody's thinking, maybe, his Hurricane Rana he's been pulling off, or moonsault. I think I know what I want to see. I want to see a callback to WCW. I want to see Juvi going for a Hurricane Rana off the top, because it's off the top, and have Jericho catch him in the Lion Tamer, because it's off the top. It should count. I think technicality, it should count. And that's how he wins. I think that is how Jericho should win. I think it should be a callback to how he beat Juvi to make Juvi unmasked. I think that would be awesome. This Dynamite was so good. I was so happy to watch this. Call me a stan all you want. AEW Dynamite is the best wrestling television show in the United States, and it's not even close right now. WWE has to do a lot. SmackDown's good. NXT can be good. Raw sucks ass. It has been downright terrible. I do apologize I wasn't able to get an NXT review this week. I had some issues. I should be able to get one next week. So, all that said, I've been Rob Reed. This has been your Dynamite review. If you like this review, give this video a like, subscribe, comment down below. Comment down below who do you think Britt Baker's heater might be? What do you think the next after Juvi? What do you think the next labor will be? Do all that below. Follow me on Twitter at Mr. Rob Reed, Mr. Rob Reed, REED, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much.